this is Alina with Plantflix. Welcome back to our channel. This is our third video, and today we're going to be covering 10 of the easiest houseplants to germinate and grow from seed. So this is a great start for if you're a beginner or if you're kind of a black thumb and you've maybe tried growing some things from seed before and haven't had the best luck. These are going to be some really good starter plants just to get you in the hobby, and then as you grow in your skills, get it? Pun intended, you'll be able to move on to some of the more intermediate or advanced level seeds. So I'm basing this list off of a few different criteria. The first being how picky the seeds are about their setup. Second is how quickly they germinate. Third is the germination rates and successes I've had with the seeds. And the fourth is the germination rates and successes you guys have had. And then finally, how easy it is to care for the actual plant once the seeds have germinated. So this beauty is the first plant on our list. This is a rainbow Coleus, and you just can't go wrong with the seeds. They are so easy to start, and the result is you get a lovely plant with gorgeous foliage. Each plant looks completely different, and the plants themselves are really easy to care for and just a fun plant to have in your collection.
To plant the seeds, you can just use the greenhouse method we covered in our last video, and honestly, you may not even need to use a dome because they're that easy to germinate. I do always recommend using a dome though. As for the adult plant, it just needs bright and direct light, moderate watering, and it's great for those shady patches in your outdoor garden or to just add some color and vibrancy to your indoor garden.
Next on our list, we have Polka Dot Plants. You probably recognize these. These are a very popular houseplant and also one of our top seed sellers because they are also very easy to grow from seed, and they're just, they're so much fun. They come in 3 different color varieties. They have the white, this one's a red, which is actually more of a rose, and then the pink polka dot, the most popular variety. So yeah, these are also very easy to germinate, very easy to care for, and just another really fun, colorful plant to have in your collection.
These are also a great contender for the greenhouse method, and I would definitely recommend using some kind of dome when you're planting these, whether it be a Ziploc bag or a regular dome, because if they dry out, then they won't germinate. And another reminder, just make sure you're keeping them in bright but indirect light. Once you do get them to germinate, the highlight of growing these is watching those polka dots form. The sprouts don't have any at the start, but as they grow, they get more and more spots.
Number 3 is this somewhat sad-looking planter of Oxalises. So these are very easy to grow from bulb. That you can just throw them in some dirt and they'll probably sprout within a couple of weeks if it's warm enough and if it's light enough. So the reason why they're looking a little sad right now, though, is because I had them sitting in a dark room. We brought them from our home, which is where I had them, and I forgot about them and left them in a dark place. But when it's light, they will unfurl, and then when it gets dark, they kind of like hide away. So you probably have seen some really fun time lapses of just the way the Oxalis moves throughout the day. But as you can see, they come in this purple color, this green color, and then there are these interesting ones. They're called Iron Cross, that have a purple center and it's green on the outside.
Oxalis plants should grow full and bushy, so if yours are looking a little bit too long or leggy, then it's time to find a brighter spot. It should still definitely be bright in direct light, so a nice west, east, or north facing windowsill would be good, or maybe a spot that's a few feet away from a south facing window, or even a grow light will keep these plants happy. They also do flower, as you can see, so that adds a little bit something more to the plants. That just makes them look very bright and happy.
Another bulb variety, these are Caladiums, and they are, I don't even have to say it, they are stunning. Each bulb produces a completely different looking plant. There are red Caladium varieties, pink Caladium varieties, and white Caladium varieties, and it's just so much fun. They're pretty easy to grow from bulb. They're a little trickier than Oxalis. They're a little more finicky about the temperature that they're in, and they will take a little bit longer to germinate, or to sprout rather, as well. But the results are absolutely worth it.
Identifying the bottom may be a little bit tricky. Typically, it's that smoother portion of the bulb, and then the part with all the strings and whatnot, that's where the top is. And sometimes you may luck out with some sprouts already coming out of your bulb, which makes it easy to identify that as the top. So when you plant it, make sure that the top is just poking out of the soil. And with Caladium bulbs, the rule is the warmer it is up to a certain point, the faster they'll sprout. The ideal temperature range is between 70 to 85 degrees. Keep the bulbs moderately moist but not soggy because that'll just cause them to rot away. And they should sprout anytime within a week or up to a month.
We are halfway through our list. Our 5th plant is Desert Rose. These are probably the cutest seedlings that you'll ever see because they have these chunky little stems, which is where the plant holds their water because they're a succulent. So the adult plants will look somewhat similar to this, just bigger and chunkier. And they will produce, if they have enough light, lovely, lovely blooms. Usually this variety that we have in our shop are going to be pink, but you'll be able to find some white desert rose as well. And they're a pretty easy succulent to care for. They're a popular houseplant, and they're just a lot of fun.
Desert rose seeds also do best with the greenhouse method, and they are actually really fast. They usually germinate within a week or two. I don't know why, but I was actually super intimidated with desert rose seeds when we first got them in, but I was pleasantly surprised with how easy they were, and we're always getting tagged in pictures that customers send us of their chunky little desert rose seedlings.
Number 6, everyone's favorite seed, and basically the reason why we even have a business. Monstera deliciosa are pretty easy to grow from seed, and honestly, I would have added it higher up on the list. The main problem with these is the seeds are so tricky to store, and it causes like 90% of our issues. If they're not germinating for you, it might be that they just didn't make it convenient, they haven't been stored well. But overall, you can usually throw them in some soil and they'll probably germinate for you and produce a cute little seed like this, which when it has an opportunity to have enough light and good humidity and fertilizer, will grow into something that looks more like this, produce its first fenestrated leaf like this guy.
As you probably already know, Monstera deliciosa are very rewarding plants to keep because they don't require a crazy amount of care but grow really big, lush, and beautiful. The demand for the plants is super high, which is why growing from seed is becoming such a popular option. Just beware of scams because there are a lot of them now. Monstera seeds should look like as they do in this photo, which is kind of like green peanuts.
Next up, we have the Rhadomacra sinica or China doll plant. Now, I don't have a particularly good example of this plant right now. This beautiful tree that I had been growing out for the last year got completely infested with mealybugs and whitefly, aphids, and just about all the pests that you can possibly think of. They are pretty susceptible to pests, so you really want to keep an eye on them, which I did not. My mistake. But cut off all the foliage. As you can see, it's making a comeback. Hooray! So hopefully it'll be back to its former beauty within a few weeks here. But the seedlings are really, really tiny and adorable. So it's crazy to think that these tiny seeds and seedlings grow into this crazy, beautiful tree. They're kind of an underrated plant in the houseplant community, but once you have one in your collection, then it kind of slowly makes its way into your heart and like your top 5 favorite plants.
I usually like to plant my China doll seeds with the greenhouse method, but I also do like to use the paper towel method, which we'll cover in a later video, but it's also covered on my blog. The seeds take about 2 to 3 weeks to germinate. Once the seedlings do put out their first set of adult leaves, they really start to take off and grow quickly like the adult plants do. So just definitely make sure to keep up your neem oil or soap sprays because they are very pest susceptible.
Go.
Next up, Fireflash. So this one's a little bit beat up, unfortunately. I had it outside and kind of got attacked by pests, which has been most of my plants this year, unfortunately. So make sure you're doing pest control on all of your houseplants. But Fireflash plants are actually a cousin of the famous spider plant, which you might have in your collection or you've just seen a billion times. This one is really cool because it has a similar plant shape, but the leaves are wider and more lush, and also they have this gorgeous, fiery looking color on the base of their leaves, which is why they're called Fireflash plants. What's also cool about this particular plant that we have is it's producing seeds of its own. So that's really cool. I didn't know that was happening, but they're fun.
Fireflash is pretty similar to the China doll plant when it comes to germination. They're just a little more picky about their humidity, I've noticed. That being said, like with the China doll plant, I usually use the greenhouse method or the paper towel method to germinate these, and once you have some practice down with seed setups, they're actually very easy.
Next up, Ponytail Palm. So I've got another seedling here with me. The adult plants end up forming this really thick, chunky looking trunk, and the leaves look like this. They just come out more in like a ponytail palm shape, I mean the name. So they're very, very cool looking, very good houseplants to have, easy to care for overall. The seeds are a little bit trickier to germinate, a little trickier than desert rose per se, but they're still a very good option if you're like beginner to intermediate. So they're also a lot of fun.
I put these further down on the list because they are a little more inconsistent with germination than, say, Desert Rose, which is the other succulent variety on this list, and they do tend to take a little longer, usually closer to 3 to 4 weeks as opposed to the 2 to 3 week mark. That being said, the greenhouse method usually does very well with them. If you have a heat mat, that can really help with germinating more exotic seed varieties, especially as you get into the more intermediate to advanced level seeds, and I definitely would classify Ponytail Palm as beginner, but beginner to intermediate. Just make sure when they germinate to provide ample light. Grow lights are ideal, but if you don't have any grow lights, then a bright windowsill, and you can't actually start to acclimate the seedlings to direct sunlight. Just don't throw them in there. Definitely want to ease them in.
And finally, we have Asparagus Ferns. Now, what's really cool about Asparagus Ferns is there are so many different varieties, and over here I have 3 out of the 4 seeds that we sell. So this one is the lace fern, probably the most popular. And then this one is a foxtail fern, and this one is the bridal creeper, which is my personal favorite because it just looks really cool. So these are not actual ferns. You may have heard this. They just kind of look like them. So if you really like the look of ferns but don't want to have to deal with all the trouble of caring for one, asparagus ferns are your best friend. So the seeds are pretty easy to germinate. I'd say that they're probably the most difficult out of this list, which is why they're last. Some issues can arise, but overall, you can throw them in some soil. They're pretty tolerant and they'll probably germinate within a month. So just a little bit of a longer waiting time, but not too difficult at all, and the plants are extremely easy to care for.
Asparagus ferns do well with the greenhouse method. They do just take a little longer, closer to a month, but you never know. Sometimes it'll take a week, sometimes a month. They are another variety that likes some direct sun, so once the seedlings germinate, you can start gradually acclimating them to some sunlight.
So that concludes our list of top 10 easiest houseplants to grow from seed. Hopefully you found it useful. You can definitely pair this video with our previous one on how to grow houseplants from seed. So follow those steps that we outlined in the previous video with the seeds that we outlined in this video, so it all works together. And let us know how it goes. We love, love, love getting your feedback and just seeing photos of what your little indoor garden looks like. It just makes a hobby that much more fun. So please do that. And we will hopefully be coming out soon with another video. And look forward to that. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Like this video. What else do people do?
Hit that bell notification.
What Jeff said.
And as always.
We will, as always, see you in the next video. And that's the puppy. Look at him, he's so sleepy. He's having a tough time.
And what is your catchphrase?
What's my catchphrase?
And as always.
And as always.
We'll see you in the next video.
We'll see you in the next video. Hobby that much more fun. They're also a lot of fun. They're fun. And they're just a lot of fun. So much fun. Really fun, colorful plant to have in your collection. I mean, they're so much fun. A fun plant to have.